is, which I think brings us to the one I sent you on SST 2020 summer.
Yes, let me get that one up. That one was interesting.
That's
I like
interesting.
the projection stuff.
It's interesting on a number of fronts that I want to discuss.
Yes, please, because I see some interesting color going on in the Arctic region.
What's interesting is that the forecast. Now, first, I want to draw your attention to the equator. You have the graphic up?
Yes, sorry,
Okay,
graphics up.
take a look at the equator. Look off the eastern Pacific equator off South America. What color do you see there?
Light blues and white.
You
No,
see,
wait, I'm sorry. Wait.
you see basically three shades of blue there, right?
Yes, okay.
That's La Nina. Remember last week we talked about how it's in neutral?
Yes, the neutral.
And I thought looking at the data, I said, well, it's kind of telling me a weak La Nina. Well, now looks like I was right again.
Really?
But what they're saying is that it's going to move from neutral. It's going to move into a La Nina phase. Now, here's
Good
the
to
interesting
know.
thing. Usually, ENSO, El Nino Southern Oscillation, ENSO and the Pacific Decadal Oscillation, the PDO, are coupled together. So usually when you have a La Nina, the PDO goes into negative phase. And when you have El Nino, the PDO goes into positive phase. Well, they're forecasting a La Nina as well as a negative PDO. Now, for Alaska, the negative PDO usually translates into poor salmon productivity.
Okay. Interesting.
Translates into that. When you have a positive PDO associated with an El Nino, it translates into better salmon productivity. With a negative PDO, the northwestern Pacific is warmer than usual. The Gulf of Alaska and the northeastern Pacific is cooler than usual, and it flip-flops during the positive PDO. So we still see a warm tongue extending about 2/3, 3/4 of the way towards Oregon, California. I expect that to start shrinking back westward and be replaced by cooler water.
Okay.
But what does this mean for Alaska's next winter? We'll probably have another cool winter
Interesting.
because I think it will still have a Arctic oscillation in the positive realm of things.
That's good news.
Now we'll freeze our asses off.
But that's what you're supposed to do.
Now.
Sorry. Well, when you hear Alaska, you don't think, that's, the Arctic region, you don't think that's like 2 times warming faster than the rest of the planet.
It is.
I know. Right?
And we're still seeing the warmer waters in the, in the Chukchi, Beaufort, Anadir season, that kind of stuff there.
Well, what's the brown in that above Alaska? The brown coloring? That means really warm?
That is, if you look at the scale, that's 2 to 3 degrees C above average, above normal. So that's like super warm. And
Uh-oh.
if you look off northeast Japan, you got a big brown blob there,
I saw that
directly south
too.
of the Kamchatka Peninsula. But yeah, that's right there in the
How
Chukchi Sea.
interesting. How
That brown
interesting.
blob is in the Chukchi Sea, which means we're probably going to have low ice extent.
For the summer months?
Yeah, which means we might have a similar situation where we had no ice extending well into the autumn. And then if it gets cold again, it might help the sea ice rebuild. But if it doesn't get that cold, then we're probably looking at something perhaps not as dramatic as 2017, 2018, and 2018, 2019 winter, but kind of in between 2018-19 and 1920 winter.
Okay.
For the sea ice extent. So in between the blue line and the red line, whatever.
Just a little
So,
different.
so I wanted to share that with you because it ties into what we've been discussing with the sea ice extent, because the PDO does influence. It was actually first described because of research and noticing fluctuations in salmon productivity. And at first it was called the lunar nodal cycle because it's like an 18.6 year cycle. And then it became later on realized that, oh, this is something bigger. And where ENSO has 6 to 18 month cycles, the PDO can cycle about 20 to 30 years.
Okay.
Again, check out my videos. I got one on the PDO, and
I will. I need to know what the PDO is more. I get the Arctic stuff a little bit more than what the PDO is, so I will be checking that out
Pacific
on Science
Decadal
Talk with Jim
Oscillation.
Massa.
Pacific Decadal Oscillation is the
Okay.
PDO. Then you also have the IPO, which is Interdecadal Pacific Oscillation, which is really more equatorial to low latitudes concerning themselves with. PDO is more temperate to higher latitude stuff going on in the Pacific.
Okay.
So from like mid California up to the Gulf of Alaska into the Bering.
Which
But
looks
yeah, it's
warm.
also so again, scientists tease out the natural cycles, the natural variation from human effects. They do tease that out.